welcome everyone. So I'm here with one of our favorite teachers, who is Hong. Hong is, he's been teaching in SEDA College for a while. Hong, tell us, for how long have you been teaching in SEDA College?
I've been teaching at SEDA College for about 10 years. If you don't count the pandemic, if you count the pandemic, it's 8 years, because I didn't teach during the pandemic.
You didn't teach it. Yeah, it was a difficult time, tough actually. Mom, tell us a little bit more. How did you decide to becoming a teacher?
Well, when I was after school, after high school, I went to do accountancy and I hated it. Just hate numbers. And so my father said, "Why don't you just continue with your music?" So I did music. I finished all the teaching diplomas and everything, and I went to teach music.
And then tell me something. Well, you wanted to teach music.
Yeah.
Do you play any kind, or are you very good in one instrument?
Well, I'm not very good.
Finger.
Okay, I'm not very good, but I play the piano.
Piano.
Okay, and I also play some percussion instruments like drums or that kind of thing. And also I sing a little bit only in my work. I'm not a very good singer, but I like to sing. And I would sing in my work because I teach very little children. So we sing songs and we sing solfa, do, re, mi, that kind of thing. And then we also listen to music and I tell them stories with the music.
Okay, that's fab. Like I always wanted to play piano. That I think is one of my dreams one day.
Okay.
Keeping busy myself up, But tell me, well, you learn music. Your dream was teaching music. How that turned to start to teaching English?
So I was teaching music for quite a long time, and then my mother used to take care of children at home. So when I came home and I saw the children, they were doing their homework, and there was English homework, and then they didn't know how to do it, so I helped them. And I thought, I like this. I like teaching grammar, English grammar. And I thought I was quite good at it. So when I was quite old, I decided to teach English. So I
get your certificate.
And get all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant, interesting. Well, now that you you're one of the best teachers of the team, by the way. So tell me something. So then, how has been the challenge part of teaching? Teaching adults sometimes is a little bit difficult or complicated. And also, once we wanted to change some mistakes that we usually have, like in the pronunciation and vocabulary and grammar. What is the more challenge part that you have had in your experience as a teacher?
Okay, mainly it's the pronunciation. Pronunciation for foreign students is very difficult because, let's say, for example, if you're Spanish speaking, you are so used to doing, phonetically, you can pronounce the words just by looking at the spelling. But in English, you might spell it that way, but you don't pronounce it that way. So that is very, very difficult for foreigners to learn English, And okay, of course, grammar and vocabulary you have to learn, but you can do that theoretically, right? But when you have to produce it, that's the difficult part. And if you can't make people understand you, then that would be.
I think it also for the students. Mostly because we're coming from different countries. So when we're coming to an English native speaking country, so it's actually quite difficult to get the accent. And then something for us, or at least for me as a Latin American, we are getting used to the American accent, and then we're coming over here and then we're finding a completely different accent taking over, and understand is quite difficult.
Yes.
Well, you then find your inspiration to start to teach when you were teaching the kids at home. And then after that, that had been your challenge. But my question over here is how did you decide, or you say okay, this is something that I wanted to do for life?
Well, I think it's because I like teaching, first of all. So because I was teaching children, I thought, I can teach English I can teach children anything. I can teach music or English, but then when you want to teach English to children in Ireland, it's a bit difficult because you have to be Garda vetted and everything.
Yes.
So the best thing is to teach adults because you don't need to be Garda vetted, and then you can also teach foreigners to to speak English. And that was one of my sort of inspiration to help people who have no English to speak English and to understand English. That was just something that I would like to do. For if I can be with as many people as I can to do this, I would. But of course, I'm only one person, so it's.
Tell me, well, like once we're working in a college, there is a lot of things that happen around, like, and mostly when we are working with adults and as well with minors sometimes, so it's quite difficult. But tell me something, what is the funniest part that you can remember right now, or the funniest comment that one student has telling you?
Well, that one I can't come up with now, but I can say that something funny, well, funny to me anyway, that happens is I'm teaching them English, right? Now, this usually they are beginners and elementary level. I'm teaching beginners, and there'll be Chinese students, Brazilian students, and other Latin American students and Mongolian students, but they would get together, and when they get friendly with each other, they would ask each other how to say good morning in their other language. And then they will learn, okay, how to say good morning? Oh, bom dia. Okay, say bom dia. And then when they see each other, they say bom dia. They go like that, And the Chinese also say, okay, how do you say good morning in Chinese? Okay, 早上好, 早上, and then 早上好, 早上好. They'll be learning the other language and not English. So I thought that's really funny.
That's very funny. I think it's one of the magic parts that exchange program gave it to you.
Yeah.
Like meet people from a lot of countries. In your experience, like as a teacher, you have been teaching people from Brazil, from Mongolia, from Mexico, from Honduras, so from many countries around the world. How that make you feel? Like how make you feel the way that you are doing something for someone who is gonna remember the rest of their life? How that made you feel?
That makes me feel really, really happy and really, really important, in their lives. I mean, I have done something, and I really have I take a lot of pleasure doing that. I find a lot of pleasure teaching other people from many different countries. I love meeting people from different countries. That's one of the things I like very much. And when I go to their country, I like to learn about their culture. So when they come to me, they can tell me about their culture, and that expands my experience, my whatever I love to do. They tell me about their country, about their culture, which I love a lot. I really like to do that.
Yeah, it's like being very remarkable in someone else's life, isn't it?
Yes, it's like very important. You know, and you've made a difference in that person's life. Hopefully.
Yeah, you definitely you definitely do it. I think it's very important for the students who are coming from countries which are very, very far away. Like find a good teacher is actually quite difficult, and then a teacher with passion, because I would like to tell you something. If I know a teacher with a passion, definitely is Hunt. We have every year we have different kind of contests, like Halloween contest, St. Patrick contest, like costume contest, and she has been winning like twice the best costume. So she actually put a lot of effort for like pushing the class to do it. Another kind of activity which is good, made it involved in the Irish culture and make them feel participate or be part of something. So, and I think that is something that also the students recognize you as a teacher. That's very good. But my question over here is like, how do you feel about that passion? Is because it's something born inside of you, or it's because you wanted to you do it for the students, or you wanted to make them feel part of that?
I don't know, Jorge. Maybe I was born with this kind of thing, because I don't know if everybody is born with passion for a particular thing. And for me, the passion, I don't know how I get this passion, why I have this passion, but I do have a passion to help other people from different countries to be able to communicate with me, for example, or with anybody who can speak the international language. It just so happens that the international language is English, and I so happen to have English because I was born in Malaysia, and in Malaysia was colonized by the British, so that's why we can speak English, and we don't have to. It's not so difficult for us to learn, English, because it's just like part of our culture. And then I can also speak Malay, which is a bit like Spanish because it's phonetic, so that's easy for me too. And then after that, I also speak Cantonese, which is a kind of Chinese, because my mother speaks to me in Cantonese, so that's my mother tongue. So I have a little bit of each, and I think that helps as well. That helps, because if you are just a monolingual person, it's difficult for you to accept how or understand why it's so difficult for that person to say something or to understand something. Because if you come from a diversity of cultures, then you sort of like understand how other people feel and how other people find it difficult to do certain things, So I think that might be in my favor. The fact that
I think it's definitely something that make you understand the situation from the other side. Because sometimes, like we just teach them, but we haven't cross over that, like go through that experience. So you don't know how to learn another language because you, like, for example, I'm speaking Spanish. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna teach you Spanish, but I never went through that experience of learn another language. So then that make you like over qualified or double qualified because you already have the experience. So you can notice the mistakes or the common mistakes that the students usually have, and then you have your own strategy to make and fix that mistakes. And I think that is something that just someone who has learning more than 2 languages has it. Isn't it? Yeah. And then moving through, so what is gonna be one or two advice that you usually give them to the new students who are coming to do a new experience or study English over here?
So I think that when people come here, they have to sort of mingle with the natives, I think, to make it a good experience for them. Because if they keep mingling with their own kind, then they'll never know what Irishness is, what people in Ireland do, what they eat, how they say things, what they celebrate and all that. So I think people should be more open to meeting people from this country or from people who have come to this country, but not of their own, nationality, So hopefully when people come here, they will open up their hearts and minds and accept other people's culture, and also try and speak as much English as possible. But if you can't, but at least you are able to understand their why they are like this and why they speak like this and all sort of thing. And also, for example, the Chinese students, for example, when they come here, they have their names are very difficult to pronounce. So, and also the other thing about Chinese students is they don't know that a name in English is a name, because they see it on paper. Like, for example, Megan eats lunch at 2:00, and they say, "What is Megan?" But Megan is actually a name. So they don't know that. So that's because they are not open, or they are not exposed to names like that. So they have to sort of like learn it by maybe reading or something like that. And then also Chinese students' names are so difficult to pronounce that I suggest that they maybe give themselves not an English name, but a name that sounds English but still sounds like their name. so that it's easy for the other people to pronounce their names, because a lot of them say, wow, what is the name? Min Chao, Min Chao, what is the name? Chin Hao, so they have to sort of learn it, and they find it very difficult. When it's an easy one like Ping Ping, oh, that's easy, Ping Ping, so that name gets said easily. So if they're possible, maybe give themselves names that other people can pronounce, and they have to learn how to pronounce other people's names as well, because that's difficult again. Latin American names are difficult because they don't know that that's a name, and then again, English names are also, they don't know that names are English names. So
and now that you're taking over this topic, many of my students, they have they always come over with me when they wanted to book any course or do any activity, and then always told me like, okay, which name? The Irish name or the Chinese name? And I just find them very interesting because they already know that it's gonna be quite difficult for me to pronounce. And I just say like, well, I would like to go for the Chinese one, but I have to go for the Irish one.
It's just it's not fair. But then if they can sort of think of a name to make, well, for example, Meng's name is easy, so it's Meng. Okay, it's easy. But if your name is like Chao Chi or something like that, which is very difficult, so maybe you can call yourself Chao or something. Like it sounds English. Chao. How are you, Chao Chi? That kind of thing, or whatever. Something that sounds like, or Charlie or something like that. Because it sounds with Ch. So
that's actually something very interesting, and also like I've been heard that coming from students from other countries, from other nationalities, that they are very into that, what's going on, or what's going on with their names. But it's very, very fun and interesting at the same time, because as you say at the beginning, so once the students are knowing each other between the nationalities, so first you start to know in another culture. Second one, you start to knowing another world, because food in terms of gastronomy, culture, traditions, everything. And one of the best examples, I think, for us is the celebration of the Chinese New Year.
Oh, I love that.
It's actually, I love it as well. Like the fact of you're doing things or activities that I never heard about before, it's actually just magical. Like it's very interesting for people from Latin America, because we have a completely different context about it. And people like you or students from China make us feel part of this lovely tradition or celebration. So then, last thing, and just to close this lovely interview with you, then, if you wanted to wish, or if you have one wish in life, what it will be?
Oh, I would say I wish for world peace, but that sounds too.
Peace, universe.
I only wish that people can just do one small great thing in their own lives. It doesn't have to be a very big thing. It's just one small but great thing to yourself, for yourself. But for other people, but something small but something great. You don't have to do big things. Just something small, and to make people's life easier or more interesting or something like that.
Definitely. Like we said, back to my country, block by block, we create a big walls.
That's it.
Yes. There you have, guys. Thank you so much for
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
And sharing a little bit of your experience in SEDA College. You are very remarkable for all the schools. We are more than happy to have you here. And guys, there you have. There is the experience of a monk. And if you are interested to do any experience in Ireland, you can contact us, and you're gonna find always support from our team, from our Asian team, from our Latin American team, and you're gonna find amazing teachers who are gonna do their best to help you to know a new word and improving your English skills. Thank you, Mom, for being with us.
Thank you.
And have a good one.